Okay.
All right, my name is Manager Geraldo, and today I'll be interviewing Mr. Lonsdale, and he came from Sunset Ridge to speak to me. My first question is, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so Tom Lonsdale, like you said, I'm a science teacher at Sunset Ridge. I teach sixth grade. I've been in East Harvard Public Schools for about 4 years now. Um, in my free time, I really just like to hang out with my dog and my wife. We live at the beach, so
Oh, nice.
we spend most nights taking walks on the beach, and that's basically what we do.
That's nice. What made you want to become a science teacher?
Actually, in a really roundabout way, I didn't intend to ever become a science teacher. So I knew I wanted to get into education, but at first I thought I wanted to be a history professor. And I'm going to talk about later, just kind of taking opportunities, but it was an opportunity that kind of came my way that I didn't see coming to go into science, and I took that opportunity, and that led me to become a science teacher.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is one of the characteristics that you should have that helps you become successful?
I think it's humility. I think, regardless of what you do, whether it's teaching or whatever profession you go into, having humility kind of sets the groundwork for you to be successful. So I think if you go into a job and you just assume, like, I'm young, I'm the greatest, I'm going to be great at this, even if you are going to be great at this, I think you have to go in with kind of like a chip on your shoulder. Because I think
be somebody better than you.
Yeah, because I think it leads to you kind of being in the mindset that you need to reach out to people for help. And also, you always have to go into a job or whatever it is, knowing you might need to learn something as you go along. And I think if you're open to that and willing to learn, then you're going to be successful in whatever you do.
That's very good. I agree with that, actually.
Thank you.
What do you think the 3 do's are of a job?
So first one, I think you need to kind of care about expectations right off the bat. And that, it sounds really like a little thing, but I think it's really important. So for example, like if the expectation is you need to show up by 8 o'clock, you need to be wearing a uniform or whatever it is, depending on the job. I think it's really important that you start off with that, because I think that regardless of how good you are at your job or how like smart or all the things you're going to bring to your job, if you don't start off following those expectations, people won't take you seriously. So I think that's really important to do. Second, I think you need to seek out those with experience. So I think whatever job you're in, you need to find those people who are going to kind of teach you the ropes, maybe first of all, but then also kind of push you as you go further along. So when you start a job, you may seek out one person with experience, maybe someone at your level, but then later on, as you want to kind of maybe move up the ladder or whatever you want to do, you need to kind of keep seeking out other people with different experiences that you don't have, so they can kind of keep pushing you as you go along.
Yeah, my question to that is like, so who was your person for that? Who was the person you reached out to for
Yes.
guidance?
So I guess it depends like what job I've done. So, when I started off my first career before teaching in East Hartford, I was teaching at the college level. And I had one professor who at first was my teacher and then became my colleague. And he really kept pushing me as I went through. And I think reaching out to him, he kind of on many levels was able to kind of mentor me as I went. And he ultimately is the person who pushed me to go into science, which was a total change up in fields for me. But it was more just a kind of a challenge. I think he realized that I was maybe peaking a little bit in one field and realized that I needed that extra boost to kind of push myself to the next level. And I think if I hadn't have had him, I never would have gone down the path that I did. So it was important.
I think that's not necessarily a downside, but yeah, like you went from teaching college to going to elementary and middle school.
It's good though. So I will say I should have backed up. I don't think that I was really happy teaching college. I don't think it was the right fit for me. I think I knew I wanted to teach, but I think that college just wasn't the right kind of venue for me. So I think that him realizing that and kind of pushing me into a different field and then to a different level completely was great, because I think in the end I'm really happy where I am and I'm really happy with what I'm doing.
Yeah, it helped you figure out what you want to do with yourself.
Exactly.
That's good. What are the 3 don'ts that you think you shouldn't do at a job?
Well, I think the first thing, and it goes along with what we're talking about, is neglecting to build relationships. I think that sometimes you show up for a job and you're just like, I'm just going to do my job. I'm going to stick to here are the things that I'm told to do, and that's all I'm going to do, and you kind of block everyone out. But that's not something I think you should do. I think it's really important in whatever field you're in to not only reach out to build relationships with people kind of who you want to be a mentor, but even just your colleagues. And I think that it may not seem it in the first place, but kind of putting that time in to build those relationships will really help you in the long run. Especially everyone at some point is going to need help in their job, whatever it is. And I think if you have those relationships, you'll have a lot of support to reach out and get help from them. So I think that's really important. The second thing, I think you need to not take things personally. So I think that's really tough, whatever you're doing, whether it's in life or at work. But I think you have to realize that whether it's a customer or a colleague, people have their own lives going on and they have their own stresses going on. And a lot of times when you come into conflict with someone, it's not because of something between you and them, it's because of something they're bringing in from the outside. And I think if you can try, although it's hard, I think if you can try not to take things personally, your relationships with everyone, your colleagues and your customers, will be a lot better.
Can go smoothly. That's a valid point.
And I think lastly, you can't shy away from opportunities, even if it's not the easiest path.
Or out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we talked about earlier that for science, that was one of those things. But also, just in general, even being at East Public Schools, there's been a lot of maybe leadership opportunities or, fields that I don't feel I'm an expert in that I've been asked to go into. And I think that those have kind of helped me grow as a person, but also grow as a teacher and an individual. And I think if I had shied away from those because it might not have been like the easiest thing to do, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I think it's important not to shy away from things.
No, that's true as well. I just agree with everything you say.
I noticed. It's okay. Maybe I'm doing a good job. Maybe that's what it is.
What is the most important characteristic you think that it's good to have for an employer?
I think it's to be open-minded. And I think the reason for that is I was thinking a lot about that. I was thinking like what applies to every job I've ever been in. And I think one thing I noticed about every job I've ever done is that the job description I had at the beginning of the job is never what the job ends up being. So I think if you're open-minded to that and willing to kind of take on whatever the job brings, I think you'll be in a really good position. But then the other thing is I think it's really important, whatever kind of organization you're in, whether it be a school or a business, to kind of fit into the culture of that business. And I think if you're open-minded, even if it wasn't really like the crew or the type of people you hung out with beforehand, I think you can kind of mesh into that culture. And I think
you can
really
always find
important.
similarities with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think, I've seen a lot of people who are super talented and bring a lot to the table, but then couldn't fit in with anybody in a group. And then they're never successful and they're never happy there. And I think those people just aren't open-minded to other people's ideas, or maybe just, I don't know, just maybe making their circle of people a little bit bigger. And I think if you're willing to do that, you'll fit in a lot of places and you'll be more successful.
Picture, so if you're not willing to expand your mind, then you won't be able to see everything else around you.
Absolutely. And I think, some people it's really tough because you might be the most talented person out there, but if you're not willing to do that simple thing, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's hard for people to say.
Do you have any examples of a don't that you did on the job?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, and earlier one of the don'ts I had was don't take things personally. And I think back to in high school, I worked at a marina where people basically brought their boats all the time. And at that age, I took things really, really personally. And I had one person come in and they screamed at me for nothing I had done, but I just happened to be the person in the way, if you know what that's like. And the person just screamed and screamed and screamed at me. And I let it ruin this job for a whole summer, for 3 months. Just I had taken that so personally. And I think that's kind of one thing that I think everyone should understand, especially in jobs where you're working with people a lot and customers a lot who just may not be happy with something and it might not even be your fault, is to just kind of not take that so personally because it can ruin a really good opportunity for you. Luckily for this, a high school job wasn't, my serious career path, so it didn't end up ruining something that was really important to me.
They ruined it for that moment.
Yeah, and it ruined it for months at a time, and I think that was really, looking back, that was a mistake. I should have enjoyed it and just kind of let that go, but it was hard to at the time.
It could have been a bigger problem than just somebody yelling at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
My last question of the day is, do you have any advice that you would give to our student body?
Yeah, I don't know where I heard this once, but I heard once that it's not what you do, but the way that you do it. And I think that is really important. No matter what you do, whether, you're doing an entry-level job or you're the CEO of a company, I think you have to do everything to the best of your ability, whatever that is. And I know, if you do everything that way, opportunities will come and you will move up. So even if you're not happy with your current job, that's no excuse to just kind of do it.
Not do it to your best ability.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that if you do it that way, then maybe the opportunities won't come and you will be stuck in that job forever. But if you do things, the way you should and you do it to the best of your ability every single time, better opportunities will come your way and eventually you will love your position or your job and then you'll want to do it the right way every single day.
Well, thank you for answering our questions. I'm glad that you could come to our school today and speak to me.
No
It was
problem.
nice having you.
Oh, thank you for having me.